Hello everyone. Today's poem is Tang Wind, the first poem in Tang Wind in the Book of Songs. The Tang Wind or the Tang state is a little bit unfamiliar for most of Chinese when we're talking about the situation in Zhou Dynasty, especially in the time of spring of autumn period or in the warrior states period. But actually, it was the Jin state. So you can treat the Tang Wind as the Jin Wind, which is the most powerful and lasting state in the spring and autumn period, as well as in the warrior states period. How powerful it could be, just give you a little bit idea. At the very beginning of the Zhou Dynasty, there are roughly more than 1,000 states in the whole country. And in the warrior states period, there are roughly major 7 states. They are rival to each other, and finally the Qin dynasty became the final winners, and it takes over all the country as the Qin dynasty. Well, in the last 7 rival states in the warrior states period, the Jin state split into 3 states, and all these 3 states are among the 7 rival states in the warrior states period. So you can see how powerful and how strong the Jin states it was when it was in the West Zhou dynasty in the spring autumn time. And the warrior states, the beginning of the warrior states, the key indicator is the events when the Jin state split into 3 states, which was so called as Zhao states, Wei states, and Han states. So basically, the Jin state is the most influential state during the spring and autumn time, as well as the warrior states period. In later generations, the term Tang became the term of Tang dynasty, which is the most powerful, most strong dynasty through Chinese history. That's because the first emperor of Tang dynasty came from this area. Well, there's a huge argument through the Chinese history where the Tang state in the Zhou dynasty located. And most of the people think the city Taiyuan in the northern part of Shanxi province was the place. But anyhow, the most recent archaeology proved that the southern part of the Shanxi province is the place of the Tang state or Jin state. The Jin state starts from this area, and then it expand to north, to east, and it became a very, very powerful state in the spring autumn times, and finally split into 3 states. This place is a very, very special place, just like another state wind we have shared, Wei wind or Wei state. So they are, you can look at the map, they are not far apart. They are located at the same plateau, the same basin. And this area is the very, very beginning of the Chinese civilization. So the best emperor or the best king through the Chinese history was taken as Yao and Shun, and they are the kings, and they build their capitals in this area. So when we talk about the people here, when we talk about wind and Tang Wind, which was rooted from this area, it's told that a lot of things was inherited from the emperor of Yao and Shun. So the two great emperors, roughly they are some 4,700 years before us, and it's still roughly 1,700 years before the Zhou people, before the who write this poem. So you can see how the influence our best king, our best emperor, Yao Shun it is, and these two kings was praised and was taken as example through the history. Even Mao Zedong has the words about Yao Shun and taking these two kings as the best examples through the Chinese history. So you can see how special this area it is. All those history background and the nature word here gave the character of the local people that they are very thoughtful. They have very, very long visions, and still they are very diligent and thrifty, not very generous. And in general, all Chinese still believe that these are the characters of the people lived here today. So you can see how the history, how the natures influenced on the local people, on the folklore. The character of thrifty, not very generous, is formed during the time of the Great Floods. So in different parts in the world, in the Middle East, in some other places, all have the folklores, have the legendary stories about the great floods in the very ancient time, and thus the Chinese folk stories have it as well, and very likely in the real histories, the great flood was real things in China, in Middle East. So the story in China is happened during the time of Yao, the best kings, and the flood lasted for 9 years, and the king ordered that no entertainment and the people don't need to follow the code of conduct, which was so-called Shali. So he killed all the laws, he killed all the code of conducts. Of course, they are very thrifty at the time. A lot of lives lost due to the hunger, due to the big flood. So because of this, finally, it's formed the culture, the character of this place, of the people lived here. The title 蟋蟀 is cricket. It's a very, very familiar insect for the northerners. The North China basically is the land of the Zhou dynasty at that time, and so the northerners today still shared a lot of things, share the very similar nature environment with the Zhou people. So for the cricket, why the kids are so familiar with the cricket? because it's a game, the most popular game in the autumn's time. When the cricket sing the songs, the kids will go to the field to catch the cricket and let the two cricket fight together like gladiator. So every kid, no matter lived in the countryside or in the big cities, they play the game to fight the cricket. And when I was a kid, I was told that the cricket from the cemetery was the most capable, was the most brave cricket. But anyhow, few or none of the my friends, they dare to go to the cemetery to catch his little fighter. And now, in the past 30 to 40 years, China has a big change, and it's really hard to find out those things which might be last for hundreds of years, last for thousands of years. And now it's really, really hard to see several kids, they are on the ground with their crickets fighting. Everything has gone. Now let's get to the poem. 蟋蟀在堂，岁聿其莫. The cricket was in house, and it's the year end now. 今我不乐，日月其除. Today or now, my Lord, you don't entertain the God, you don't entertain all the divines in the mountains, in the rivers, as well as our ancestors. It's the time the sun and moon was shifting. The sun and moon shifting still refers to the year end. Remember that. Okay, let's continue. 无已大康，职思其居. As an officer, I will always tirelessly contribute to our country, and we always think about our ancestors, our family temples. 好乐无荒，良士瞿瞿. We should entertain our divine as well as our people, and in that way our nice officers, our citizens will be diligent, will be swiftly and with a sharp eyesight. So the first paragraph basically is just like advice. It just it's a poem to the Lord of Jin state, or at the very beginning it was called as Tang state. So the poet claimed himself as the cricket. So the cricket at this time was shouting. At the autumn's time, it's shouting. So do 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 do. When the kids hear the crickets singing, they just get into the field and catch the crickets. And so from here we can know that the year end, that time is roughly November, October time today. And we can see that in another poem in Book of Songs, 冰封7月. It has the word 蟋蟀10月下我床椅. The crickets get under my bed in October. Of course, this October is the lunar calendar, but the lunar calendar changes through the Chinese history. We are not quite so sure about the very exactly time, but basically it's around November and October. And from this point, we can see that the new year maybe starts like in November that time in the Zhou dynasty. The poet used a parallel himself as the crickets, 蟋蟀在堂. So in the surface, it means the cricket was in house. At the same time, the sound of Tang shared the same sound of the Tang state. So the metaphor is I'm a officer. I'm the cricket, and I'm the officer of the Tang state. In the second pair of sentence, 今我不乐, the character 我 refers to the lord of Tang state or Jin state. 乐, entertainment. So what does the entertainment mean here? So in the ancient China, the entertainment basically means two things. It's one thing putting in different ways. The other way is the sacrifice, the pray to God, to all kinds of divine, to their ancestors. So these big grand events will consist of sacrifice, barbecues, dinners, and music, and some other gamings. So you can put it as a sacrifice, 祭祀, or you can also put it as 娱 or 乐. So it's the one thing, put it in two ways. And as well, the people, the officers, the kings was entertained as well, because the dinner was held, right? And there's all kinds of games played, the music was played, the wine drinked. So it's the entertainment to the people as well. So of course people like to attend those events. It's not just because to pay their respect to the God, to their ancestors. I think it's there's a great big rhythm, because they are entertained at the same time. And the ceremony, the most grand ceremony, was at the year end, which was described in this poem. So it's just like the Spring Festival. The Spring Festival was the first day of a Chinese New Year. So do you feel the similarity here? I do believe it's the same thing. And the Chinese New Year was the direct descendants from the grand ceremony described in this poem, the year-end grand ceremony, the grand entertainment. With thus, the whole paragraph could be understood. The poet claimed himself as the cricket, so he was telling to his lord, at this year end, my lord, you don't entertain the God as well as neither us. 今我不乐, so my lord, you don't entertain everybody. So it's not a good thing. So in the last pair of sentences, the poet gave his own advice. 好乐无荒. Let's do the grand entertainment at the year end, and at the same time we stick to our duty. we do a good job, and with both the officers, the good officers will be swift and sharp. So the 良士瞿瞿is referring to poet himself and all the good civil servants in this state. And the term 瞿瞿means very sharp and diligent. It's the analog, parallel to the eagles with sharp eyes. You can see the character was composed with a bird with two big eyes. That's the eagle. So a good officer is a very diligent, just like a diligent eagle flying very high, but with a very, very sharp eyes on his duty, on his people. Now the second paragraph is almost identical to the first one. 蟋蟀在堂，岁聿其逝. The crickets are in house now. The year has passed. This year has passed away. 逝 means go away. 今我不乐，岁聿其迈. And now, my lord, you don't make the grand entertainment. The time is swiftly going by. 岁聿其迈, it refers to the time is going far, far away. 迈 means something is very far away. 无已大康，职思其外. So, as an officer, we are always tirelessly on our duty to make the state big and prosperous. 大康, 大 means make something strong and big. 康 means prosperous and fertile. So here, 无已大康, it didn't mention the objects, but here it's very clearly, as an officer, what he's bided for. He's bided for his duty, for his state. 职思其外, and we stick to our duty and with the foreign affairs. So this is correspond to the first paragraph. In the first paragraph, it means 职思其居. So he was sticking to his duty of the ancestors' temple. So ancestors' temple basically is identical to the state affairs. So that's the place where they hold their duties. That's the office for the state officers as well. And in the second paragraph, 职思其外, so it clearly tells us that the officers, they are not only busy for their state affairs, they also are very busy for some of the foreign state affairs. Could be a war, could be the foreign policy, or some of the alliance things. Okay, the third paragraph, almost identical, but with a little bit change. 蟋蟀在堂，役车其休. The crickets are in house now, and all the chariots, all the cars of the state, they are taking a rest. 役车, the cars, the chariots for the state affairs, so which means at the year end, all the state affairs, all the officers, they can have a rest. So that's the way in the Zhou dynasty, people are quite busy from the spring, summer, and autumn, and basically the winter time is the time to take a rest. Okay, the next sentence. 今我不乐，日月其涛. So today and now, my lord, you don't make the grand entertainment. The sun and moon are very doubtful. Why the sun and the moon are doubtful? The sun and the moon here could be taken or equal to the God, to the divine, all kinds of divines. And so here it tells us that because of the Lord, he don't hold the grand entertainment at the year end as the code of conduct. And thus the divine, the God, was wondering why they don't offer the sacrifice to us at the time being, and why they entertain us at the year end as usual. So basically it's the wondering, and it's the doubt from the poet as well. You should do that, right? And then the poet continued his advice to his lord. 无已大康，职思其忧. So we always tirelessly stick to our duty to make the country strong and prosperous, and we stick to our duty and worry about the country all the time. So we have done our best already. And let's see the last sentence. 好乐无荒，良士繶蹶. And as far as we do the grand entertainment, and we don't ruin our duty, we keep doing a good job, the officers, the citizens will be blessed, and they will have a good rest as well. So the character xiu basically has two meanings in this poem. So you can see the very original character of xiu, a person by a tree. So it could have two meanings. One is the person take a rest under the tree. So it's more talking about the person. He has a rest. So that's the meaning today as well. And it has another meaning which was used quite often in the Zhou dynasty, which means the blessing from the Lord. So it's just like the meaning is from that the tree shadows the person, and the tree gave this person a cool and a comfort environment. So that's the blessing from the Lord. The tree was like the Lord. The person was blessed. So I think in this poem, the meaning is more on the blessing, because it's the winter time, and everybody has taken a rest. So it's the time of the season of rest. And the poet also mentioned 役车其休, all the chariots, all the cars has taken its rest, which actually he was implying everybody has taken his seasonal rest. Now, the only thing left was the grand ceremony. My lord, you should do that. You should do the grand entertainment to the God, as well as our people will be entertained, blessed as well. So that's the focal point in this poem. So in the later generations, this poem was taken as a blaming poem, that the Lord was so thrifty, and he was not generous. The Lord can save a big amount of money by not doing the grand ceremony, the grand entertainment, but he lost the heart of his people, especially those officers who are tirelessly contributing to this state, to the Lord. Okay, that's for today. Bye bye.